So pleased to be joined by a professional wrestling veteran and one of the true innovators of the game. You might know him as Dangerous Devon Storm, but it's Crowbar. Crowbar, so happy you're joining me today on Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. How are you?
So happy you had me on, Phil. Thanks so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So let's just start off with this. What are you up to these days?
What am I? That's a good question because I'm trying to figure it out myself. Some people have called it a career renaissance. I'm really not sure. I'm just out there having a great time, having a hell of a time, pushing it, working hard, working with a lot of the young lions, and tearing it up out there. 48 years old, still love to work hard, still like to go out there and wow the people. And where it goes, who knows, but having a hell of a time, whatever you want to call this thing I'm doing.
What do you like about still getting in the ring now? How do you like getting in there with some of those guys?
It's very cliche to say, and a lot of guys say, I believe I am the biggest wrestling fan alive. And when I first broke into wrestling, that wasn't a fashionable thing to say. If you were in the industry, you never admitted that you were a fan, that you were a mark, that you enjoyed it. And I know there's a no cursing rule, I flipping love professional wrestling. And I've been blessed to be able to do it going on 31 years. And I enjoy it now just as much as I did way back when. Again, for some people, not fashionable to say, not fashionable to show all your cards and what you feel. But being in it this long, I really don't care. I enjoy pushing myself. There's like this competition with myself. Can I hang with this guy? Can I hang with that guy? 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to work with Rich Swann, one of the best guys out there. And I'm a student. When I get booked against somebody, I will watch video and after video while I do my cardio, and I will learn their moves. I was familiar with Rich. I've always liked his work, but when you're going to work with somebody, you really watch and you try to learn their move. In my opinion, if you're going to go out there and do your best, you're going to learn your opponent's moveset. You're going to learn what they like to do. You're going to learn how they work out there. So I've become a student of that opponent before I worked them. So in my mind, I was challenging myself to be able to hang with Rich Swann. We went out there for Outlaw Pro Wrestling in Brooklyn, New York, and I have my handful of very safe, very, very cool, still extreme looking spots that I do. I think I still make myself look athletic. I think I am athletic, but the real challenge was being able to hang and make sure Rich got to do all his signature stuff and make sure that I was there for the timing and for the basing and everything else. So it's great working with these guys. It's great going out there showing that I still hang with these guys, and it's just both entertaining and personally rewarding for myself. It's a really odd thing. A lot of guys in the business don't get it. They always say you have a business, you have a family, you're 48, you did WCW, you did ECW, you did WWE. Why the hell are you still doing this? And because I flipping love wrestling, and I think I'm entertaining myself as much as I hope I'm entertaining the people out there.
Well, I had the opportunity to see you live earlier this year for ISPW. I think it was in Morristown, where you were facing Rhett Titus.
Yes.
Actually on that show. And I thought you guys had one of the best matches on the show. And that was when I first was reminded, like, oh yeah, that's Crowbar. he's still out there doing his thing. And then and talking to our mutual acquaintances, the now Vic Delicious and Hale Collins, who just have tons of
two of my favorite guys. They're great. Yep.
Tons of nice things to say about you. So now when you're on some of these cards, are you now the veteran getting asked for advice from the young wrestlers, or what kind of can you watch my match, that kind of stuff?
I am that guy. I am the veteran getting asked for advice, and I happily offer whatever advice I can. I'm still there watching all the matches, whether I'm in it or not, because I just enjoy watching and seeing who's out there and what they do.
Who do you see out there now, and what do you see out there in the wrestling scene that really that you enjoy personally as a fan?
There's a lot of things. When I watch TV wrestling or even on the independents, I'm an older guy, 48 years old. I enjoy watching other guys like myself and seeing what they're doing. Dustin Rhodes, Chris Jericho, PCO, Christian, Matt Hardy, guys like that. And I like to compare myself as far as what I'm doing compared to what they're doing. And it's very inspiring and very encouraging to see guys like that still going, like myself. I enjoy watching the guys like that. I enjoy watching the new cruiserweights, guys like Darby Allin and I can't think of his name. I'm having a total brain. I love Fuego de Sol. I love watching the newer generation of cruiserweights and imagining how if I were to work with them, how I would base for them and make their stuff look good. I really like watching everything. I enjoy watching the new hardcore stuff you see out there. Some of it's crazy, some of it's safe, and I'll watch as a fan, but I'll also watch as a professional. I'll say, that might have been a little bit safer. You could have done that safer, maybe not, maybe this or that. So there's a lot of things I watch as a professional and I watch as a fan. And but the fact is I still watch very actively and I enjoy both aspects.
Always evolving, it seems like.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't really totally know this, but how did you break into pro wrestling?
I was always a huge fan. When I was about 16, I had become a mega fan, and but I really never knew how to get involved. You know, when you would read the After mags and stuff, you would see Monster Factory, and that was way down south in Jersey, down in Paulsboro. That became an option, and then it just kind of found me. My brother-in-law's brother knew a guy in East Rutherford, the next town over, that worked at a bicycle repair shop, who yada, 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 was somehow tied in with Iron Mike Sharp and had plans a year from then to be opening up a pro wrestling school in Brick Township, New Jersey. And that's all I had to hear. So I went to go meet this guy, found out he was going to be opening up a school in Brick Township, New Jersey with Mike Sharp. And from that point on, I found a Friday, Saturday, Sunday job at a local catering hall called The Landmark. And I worked Friday night. I worked double shift on Saturday and Sunday, and I saved my money. And the following year, at the age of 17, I started pro wrestling school.
What was that? What was the training like back then? What was Iron Mike Sharp like?
It was nuts. At that time, being naive, being new, it was all very normal to me. And I always tell people this. It was a small boxing ring in a strip mall, but just and it wasn't even a full-size ring. It was one of those low-profile rings, maybe 2.5, 3 feet off the ground. But just walking into a pro wrestling ring for the first time, I'll never forget it. It was one of the most mind-blowing, magnificent experiences in my entire life. As crappy as that ring was, I was walking into a pro wrestling ring, and I'm sure a lot of the guys that do it for the first time you step through those ropes and get into that ring, it's so special. But training under Mike Sharp, I'll go to a wrestling school now and guys wear sweats or a t-shirt, tank top, maybe spandex shorts and stuff like that. Mike Sharp trained us like he was going to wrestle at the Garden. Black trunks, black boots, forearm brace,
nice,
all oiled up, and he never broke kayfabe. He trained us the way we saw him on TV. And in hindsight, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But at that time, it didn't seem odd because that's how we knew Mike Sharp. And that was one of the things that really stood out in hindsight. Mike Sharp never broke kayfabe, even with this. He trained us in his ring gear.
Wow, that's amazing. He was very credible and very competent.
Big dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But could do a lot of stuff for his size too.
Absolutely.
Pretty nimble. I remember first being aware of you probably in the mid '90s, mostly through magazines, reading about like buzz about your tag team with Ace Darling, and then getting to see both of you in the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship tournament on Monday Night Raw. What kind of things were you doing back then to try to get noticed? Because it's so different. It seems like a completely different world now.
It's so different now because at that time, Ace and I were the smallest guys on every card. We were the opening match, either against each other or later on when we became a tag team, we were like a Rockers / Rock and Roll Express, smaller, quicker tag team. When you fast forward to now, I'm one of the larger guys in the locker room by far. The business has evolved so much further away from these larger than life, gigantic guys to guys that are more, they're smaller, but more fit, more athletic. And that's really the biggest thing right now is that's mind blowing. When I first got involved years ago, I had to think like a smaller wrestler. In order to stand out, I had to learn how to moonsault, how to do a Frankensteiner, how to dive to the floor, how to do this, how to do that. Now, I can still do a lot of those things, but I'm more the larger guy, the base in a lot of these matches. If you compare it to like Mexican wrestling, I'm more like the La Parca psychosis guy as opposed to a Rey Mysterio or a Juventud guy. I'm more of a base guy because of the size.
Like even like Black Taurus, I believe is his name. It was in the Lucha Libre match at the Flair card that you were also wrestling on.
Yeah.
He's always the guy that he's great at it too.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's interesting that because I think the light heavyweight division back then was 225 and under. And if you think about that now, and you look at the percentage of the rosters that it would be, it's
how many guys that are 225?
Almost everybody. It's absolutely incredible. The run that I think a lot of people best remember you for, and it's also in your social media handle too, was for WCW teaming with David Flair, winning the WCW tag team titles, being accompanied by the very memorable Daffney.
Absolutely.
To me at the time, I thought you guys were so fresh and new and fun. What was that whole run like for you after all the work you had put in to get to that point?
I had been doing a darker, more gothy version of Devon Storm on the Saturday night show, and I was being groomed to be the next cruiserweight to come up. I was going to be a more aggressive, larger cruiserweight that would make his way up to Nitro and Thunder. And then the story has it, as I've been told, I arrived in Vail, Colorado to do WCW Saturday night. The crew had gotten back from Nitro that night. I walked into the hotel bar / restaurant, leather jacket, hair down, yada, yada, yada. Vince Russo saw me and he liked my look. This is what I was told. And at that time, David Flair was going around behind the scenes, whacking people with a crowbar, being a nut, stalking women. And he had this gothy girl with him, Daphne, and he was popping a rating. David was popping a rating. The only thing that was a problem was that he was not a very strong in-ring performer, unfortunately. So they came up with the idea, let's put David in a tag team. We'll have the partner do the majority of the work. That way we still get David out there. They still get to see him compete in the ring, but the partner could do the majority of the work. So that was really what enabled me to get from Saturday night to the main show, not as a cruiserweight, but as kind of this crazy character.
And sort of the workhorse for your team and guiding him to where they needed him to get. Were you and David Flair friends, and have you kept in touch with him at all since that run?
I haven't spoke to him in a while. The last time I saw him, I have to say about maybe 8-9 years ago. David, Shannon, and I all did a autograph signing. I love David to death. He was a great guy. I had not met him prior to us being paired up. And when they told me I was going to be paired with Flair's kid, you don't know what to expect. Is he going to be very cocky because he's the son of the Nature Boy? Is he going to be this? And he couldn't be nicer, couldn't have been sweeter. Great guy. He knew his limitations. He wanted to learn. And honestly, people ask us, we were 3 young adults, 3 kids, just having a great time enjoying this ride. And it was one of the most fun times of my entire life in wrestling, and just very thankful for that time. It was just great. I have no complaints. It was so much fun working with the both of them, and it just all just super fun memories.
How great was Daffney in her role?
She was amazing. She was an actor and an actress, rather, by trade. I believe she answered a casting call to be Flair's girlfriend, and she killed it. She looked great. And then we were traveling together. I found out she had a gymnastics background and stuff like that. So we started to teach her how to do some moves like the Frankensteiner, tornado DDTs and stuff like that. And we integrated that in small spots here and there when we worked. And it really, really worked well. She wanted to learn. She ate it up, and she wanted to assume that role and be more physical with the matches and really add to our whole shtick. And on a personal note, she would walk into a room and light it up, just all smiles. To see her with fans was amazing. Although we all try to be great with fans, take a picture, sign this, that. She would stop with a kid and ask the kid questions. How's school? What's your name? What kind of sports do you like? She always went the extra mile, and just an incredible human being professionally with us and with the guys in the back and with the girls in the back, but also with the fans. She was just amazing to her fan base.
I kind of forgot that was literally her introduction to the pro wrestling business, which is it's just crazy to think about, because she was so good and so natural at it on screen that it was easy to forget that it was basically a casting call that got her in the door. But,
crazy, right?
So what a trio you guys were, and I really, really enjoyed that.
We were honestly 3 kids just having fun. It was great.
And it seems like during the entirety of your 30 plus years in the ring, you've always had this other gig with physical therapy.
Yes.
What has the balance of that been like for you in your career? Just knowing when to focus more on it than the other side. And was WCW the only time that you were really full time as wrestling? I don't know how much of that stuff you were doing when you were in WCW.
I pursued pro wrestling and physical therapy at the same time. I pursued the independence. I went to college, got accepted into physical therapy school, and I was going to physical therapy school all throughout my first nightly run with WCW, then the ECW, and then WWF light heavyweight division. I was doing this all at the same time. If I got called to do a show, I would get my assignments ahead of time, and I would make sure I got that done. I graduated in '98. I worked for a year full-time at a hospital. During that time, I attended 2 of the Dory Funk dojos, which nothing materialized out of that. And then a year later, I got the full-time gig with WCW. When I was there, when I was home from the road, sometimes you're on the road for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, what have you. Whenever I was home from the road, if it was 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, I would grab 2 or 3 of those days, and I would work per diem at a local hospital and also at a sports center. So I kept a hand in it at all times. And just when WCW ended, I went from being full-time wrestler, part-time physical therapist to full-time physical therapist, part-time wrestler, and I didn't miss a beat with it, and it was cool, and as far as your other question goes, WCW was the only time that I was really full-time as a pro wrestler. And following WCW, I worked a lot of per diem hours in physical therapy, as I did like the WWWA overseas. I did TNA. I had a few dark matches for WWE, but when it seemed like nothing was going to materialize, I grabbed a full-time job for Hell South, and 2-3 months in, I became the site coordinator, and that became my gig for a while.
And now it's your own business that you own?
Yes.
Wow.
For the past 10 years.
On that. Congratulations on all of that. It's so unique to me when a wrestler can have that kind of dual role. I think the most interesting one I've ever heard was probably George Animal Steele's teaching for 25 years while he was doing pro wrestling in the summer and on his vacations. But and then the two sides not knowing that the other one was happening. But it's so great to see, and it's a good sign for other wrestlers to learn. Like, you can have a backup plan that works. You're a great example for that.
Yeah, I always say, shoot for the stars. Give it everything you have. But I always say, pursue your dreams responsibly. And often you'll hear people say, "Well, if I have a plan B, then I'm admitting that I'm not going to make it. I have to go all out. I have to do all this." And I don't think that's true. In any kind of entertainment, if you're a singer, if you have a band, if you're an actor, an actress, if you're a pro wrestler, you can be the best at what you do. And if the stars don't line up, you might not get that call right, or you may not get it soon. It may take years and years and years. If you have a plan B, and especially a plan B that you like, it buys you time. Like I said, I have no idea where this goes right now for me personally, but the fact that I have a physical therapy degree, I have my own business here. There is zero pressure at all at anything I do wrestling wise. I'm able to enjoy it to the fullest because there is nothing riding on it. I'm out there genuinely because I flipping love pro wrestling. I'm entertaining myself. I'm pursuing it passionately. I'm pursuing what I love, and there's really no set destination, but there's no pressure on anything I'm doing. So for the people that say you can't have a plan B, you have to be, it's all or nothing, that's BS. I don't believe that. I believe you can have plan A and plan B, and I believe if you have a good plan B, it empowers you to be able to play the long game and wait on that plan A, that dream that you want. And that's a huge thing there. And I pursued both way before online classes. You had to go in person. You had to drive to school. You had to attend the classes. I studied on the road. The only thing is, if you're going to do that, if you're going to pursue pro wrestling, let's say, and you're going to go for a degree, you're going to sacrifice your private time. You're going to have no social life. But if those are two things that you want bad enough, you can do it. And if you say you can't, you're just making excuses. It's easier to do it now than it was when I did it.
It just makes me want to see a match between you and somebody who I've had on the show in the past, which is
who's that?
Davey Richards, who's about to become an emergency room physician.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
He was telling me about if you were looking for me at a wrestling show, I'd probably be in the corner studying my textbook. So that's
amazing. Yep.
That's what I was doing. We're going to move to something we call the 3 count now. It's going to be 3 questions and your responses to them.
Okay.
So if you had to show someone 3 Devon Storm or Crowbar matches to introduce your body of work to somebody, what would you choose and why?
What would I choose and why? One of my favorite matches is one that's probably 5 people have seen in spite of it being a pay-per-view, and that was the Sabu cage match for the World Wrestling All-Stars pay-per-view from Melbourne, Australia. It's on YouTube somewhere, and it's probably close to 20 minutes long, cage match, all kinds of props, but I think we told a story. We started off wrestling, and we gradually got more and more violent to where there's a dive through with the tables off with the top of the cage, outside, inside, there's fire, there's all kinds of stuff. That's one of my favorite matches. If I had to choose another one, believe it or not, there's this match that was on Worldwide. It may be one of my favorite WCW matches. Ironically, it was with Alan Funk before he became Kiwi.
Oh yeah,
and it was just a really, really good match back and forth. The crowd was super into it, and it was at a time when Daffney and I were starting to gain a lot of popularity. I believe the show was in a college town. I can't remember where, but the crowd reaction was fantastic, and just everything just kind of fit into place just right, and that was great. And then if I had to pick a third, I would go ahead and say AEW Less October with Joey Janela, and just to show that if you keep yourself in shape and if you protect your body and if you have passion and if you have the drive and if you have all that good stuff, that you could perform at a high level at 48 years of age.
And I'm going to go off my own list a little bit here and realize that I skipped over the part of my notes where I was going to ask you about AEW. What was it like to be in that kind of an environment where you're such a known and respected guy, probably to that locker room, and then you had Blue Meanie out there with you too? What was it like to wrestle on that stage?
It was awesome. I know that Joey Janela had something to do with that. He had been wanting to work with me for a while there. I reached out to QT via text and hadn't heard anything back. And then I was on summer vacation in Orlando, Florida at Disney, getting ready for a Disney vacation. You know, when you're on one of those, you're going to hit the buffets. You're going to have the ice cream. You're going to have the drinks. You're going to enjoy your time with the family. And I get notified that they're going to bring me in when they're on the East Coast, either Newark or Philly or one of those shows. So right then and there, my summer vacation gets shot right in the butt there. As far as eating like crazy, I still enjoyed, but I did extra cardio and extra weights and all that. And I had been doing the promos online all through COVID. You know, I've been doing this new character with the wine and the being very condescending and yada yada yada, and this was like the payoff of all that. You know, that kind of got me noticed, and now I was going to finally have the opportunity to show physically what I was capable of still doing, and it was an amazing opportunity. It was something sure that I had hoped for. Whether or not I believe that was going to happen, really not sure, but it did. And when it came, I think I was prepared for it. I think we had a great match. I think we had a whole lot of fun. And it just goes to show that, honestly, if never say never, you never know when an opportunity may come. You never know when you're going to be called upon to do something. So you have to at least be in a state of readiness, or at least near readiness. It was July when they called. I had July to September to get in even better shape and cardiovascularly and physically and all that. And it was just awesome.
So second question, do you have anything unique saved from the course of your career? Are you kind of a guy that holds on to any mementos?
There were 2 Crowbar pipes. The original one from the gas station that I beat up Vampiro and the Misfits with, and then that pipe it actually hurt like hell when he got whacked with it, but it also had a core that bent. So they replaced that with a second pipe, and I have both of those actually, and I actually have like 4 or 5 of my actual ring jeans still.
Very good.
And I also have I had one piece of the table from the Australia match with Sabu that I signed, Sabu signed, and the referee signed, which is kind of cool.
Very good. And the last three count question, is there anybody in your career who people might be surprised to see on the list of opponents? You've got such a long career that there have to be some unique entries on there for people you've actually wrestled before.
One odd pairing that probably nobody would believe is that I one time teamed up with Nikolai Volkov with the Sheik as our manager. And I sat there and I saluted for the Russian national anthem.
Who were your opponents?
The Reinforcer, Andrew Anderson, and Thunderbolt.
Wow. And where was this? Where was this?
I think New York somewhere.
Wow.
I would love to find that video because that's an odd pairing right there.
Was it as Devon Storm or was it as Crowbar?
Crowbar.
Wow. So Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, and Crowbar.
Crowbar, you have this nutty slob in ripped up jeans up there at attention for the Russian national anthem.
Only people with video games or wrestling figures could have ever dreamed that one up. And
Absolutely.
It really happens. Yeah. That's phenomenal. Crowbar, so happy that you joined me today on Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. I really, really enjoyed this. And let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. This was a great time. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. My pleasure.